kittens. Welcome back to the Remote No Pressure podcast. Bill, it's great to have you back.
Good to be back. You totally... You made me watch that show, and now you're ripping off what she's saying.
Yes! What did you think?
I'm about halfway through it.
Okay.
And I don't know what to think yet. Like, it's like Jerry Springer ramped way up, and I'm not sure who the killer is.
You know, it's an interesting... There's some interesting plots. Now, how far are you into this Tiger King?
I think 4 episodes.
Okay. So you're almost there. I read a tweet today. Now this I guess could be in other news, but I guess I should say in other news, but I'm going to hold off. Of all people who thinks that Carol Baskin is guilty, that she murdered her husband and fed her to the lions, Mr. O.J. Simpson himself said, "There's no doubt that Tiger King star Carol Baskin killed her husband. If anyone knows what a murderer looks like, it's going to be the juice."
Wow.
It's going to be the juice, bro. If anybody knows what a murderer looks like, it's going to be the juice. Do you think Carol Baskin killed her husband and fed him to the lions?
I don't know yet. Like, the way that they edited the show was really creative. And you start thinking, like, wow, maybe the what's his name? Joe, like, is set Carol up to get hit, you know, like put out a hit on her. But as you go, it's like, no, it's just some really redneck dude that this lady's picking on. I don't even know. It like I said, I'm halfway through it, and it's just crazy. It's like a circus.
It really is. It's like Oklahoma rednecks meet Florida rednecks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like Jerry Springer. You think how is this going to stop? And have you seen the funeral scene?
No.
You haven't seen the funeral scene?
No.
Oh, I can't give it away then, bro. But Joe Exotic talks. I can't say this is a family show, but I'm going to tell you that's probably one of the most bizarre weddings or funeral speeches I've ever seen in my life.
I did see the wedding scene. That was weird.
That was very odd. Very odd.
Yep.
I was very surprised. But you know, of all the people that are on the show, the guy that inspired Scarface, that drug dealer,
yep,
he's the most normal one, and I think Joe Exotic is the most normal one.
You should really set this up for the listeners at home who have no idea what we're talking about.
Okay, so we're watching this show. If you don't know what Tiger King is by now, then you're not reading your memes. You're not doing your homework. Now, as conspiracy theorists, this has all kinds of great stuff for me and Bill. Okay, this guy, they're in the big cat business. Bill,
yep.
Did you know there was such an underground big cat business?
No, I had no idea. Other than like Siegfried and Roy, you know, I didn't even think they were in the business. I thought they were just like enthusiasts.
But you know, I saw this meme that was like, so you're telling me with this check I get from the government, I could almost buy a baby lion.
Yeah.
Or baby tiger, like
but
$2 or $3
grand.
grand.
They cost like $3,000 per year to feed.
Well, and that's more than that. I think as babies, I thought it was like $10,000 or something per.
Maybe
animal,
you're right. Maybe you're
with
right.
medication and everything. Can you imagine having a pet lion?
No, that would be crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't even want like a pet bobcat. They can get mean. Like these are wild animals. They're not supposed to be domesticated. You know.
Right. Have you ever pet a lion or anything like that at all? Or
just through a cage when I was in Ecuador for a mission trip 10 years ago? Like they had these little bitty cages that it was barely big enough for the lion to even stand up in. And it was like laying against it. So I pet it through the wire cage, you know?
Were you nervous at all? Or did you think you were going to get like...
No, it was like laying there. It wasn't even standing or anything. It was like not moving. It was alive, but...
Did you feel bad for the lion?
I did. Yeah. It's like this little cage that's barely big enough for it to, you know, like I said, stand up. And they had it here for hours out in the sun, you know?
Wow. That's wild. Yeah, I never knew this subculture existed, this big cat subculture, but evidently it's a thing, and the people who are involved in it are all crazy as hell, man. Every single one of them were just crazy.
Evidently. Oh, what about the dude with the elephant rider dude. You remember him?
Yeah. What was his name?
Can't remember. It's like an Indian guru kind of name.
Oh my gosh, like Fong Font or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guy. What was his name? Doc Antle. That was his name.
That's it. Yes.
Doc Antle. The dude is just what? 3 wives? 3 wives? Girlfriends, not legal wives.
Yeah, and it's like he did live-ins, and he had all the interns who would have to sleep with him to be able to, get the good jobs, and then he'd design their clothes for him, which is all like scantily clad, and yeah, it's creepy.
But you see that, and then you see Joe Exotic give like these guys out of the halfway house a job. You get to tell they're robbed, no legs, no teeth. It's just a rough crew of people, but he pays them a little bit of dough.
Yeah.
But you think, oh, this is like, this whole Antle guy, Doc Antle, is really taking advantage of these people, and you almost think Joe Exotic is, and then you find out what the other lady, Carol Baskin's, doing with all of her volunteers and stuff, and you're like, she's no different than anybody else.
Exactly.
She just packages it up differently.
Yep.
Oh my
That's
God.
right.
What is do you watch it with your wife or not?
I do, yeah.
What does she think about the whole thing?
About the same as me. She feels really bad for what's his name, Joe Exotic. I want to call him Joe Dirt with that haircut.
Yeah, I know.
She feels bad for him, like he's just being pushed into where he's going, and she's like, this isn't right.
No, it's not. It's not right at all. But it's just buck wild, dude. It's just crazy. But I was like, well, there was someone on the Instagram that was like, "Hey, are you going to talk about Tiger King on the show?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, we're going to talk about Tiger King." This is like it was Shannon Constantinides, the full-time blonde, Doc's wife. She's like, "Please tell me you're going to talk about," or add him to the. Have you listened to any of his music?
Huh? Oh yeah. I haven't listened to it like on Spotify or anything, but like when they're playing it on a show, it's like, it's hard to believe that's him.
It's not him.
It's not.
It's not him singing. No, he hires someone else to sing it, and then he makes the music videos and he writes the songs.
I've gotten that far. Wow.
No, I don't think it's in the show. I think you got to look it up. But there was a meme that said, "You don't know country until you know all of his greatest hits." And I thought that was probably one of the funniest memes I saw. Like, you can't say you love country if you don't know Joe Exotic's greatest hits. But I'm telling you, I'm telling you, dude, it's gold. It's gold. It's like, oh my gosh, but see, here's the thing. This is what concerns me a lot. And I'm scared to even say this. I'm scared to say this, Bill, but this is what concerns me a lot. You see, the thing about Joe Exotic is he created a niche.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wrote songs about the niche.
Uh-huh. Oh.
I'm in fly fishing. And I have this niche, this podcast, and then I make songs about fly fishing.
Whoa.
And I had to stop a few times there and ask myself, am I Joe Exotic?
You're just looking for your Carol Baskins.
I got to find a Carol Baskin. Who could be my Carol Baskins? Tom Rosenbauer, maybe from the Orvis podcast. Is he my? No, he's not. He's not. He's a nice guy. Tom Rosenbauer is my. is my Carol Baskins? No, he's not. He's a nice guy. He's a nice, pleasant guy. I can't hate anybody like Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin's a cold-hearted killer.
Did you finish it already?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I finished it.
I've only been watching 1 or 2 a night. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got the text to check this out.
The problem is though, is like, at night I watch it and I fall asleep, so I have to I watch 2 episodes a night. So I always have to watch half of the one from the previous night because I fell asleep, and then I have to rewatch it. I'm like, where were we? I can't remember. You start falling asleep, but I think she murdered her husband. And like I said, even O.J. Simpson thinks Carol Baskin murdered her husband.
If anybody knows a killer, it's the juice.
Dude, let me ask you this question: Do you have a Twitter account at all?
I used to. I am completely off social.
Did you know O.J. Simpson tweets all the time?
I did not.
He's got a pretty active Twitter account, yeah, where he gives like life advice, things like that, how to get away with murder, not that, but he's something else. It's something else, man. He always has these videos up, and I don't know. He's a strange dude, man. Now, where were you when you saw the white Bronco driving down the road?
Oh, I was at a cousin's house. A cousin rented a cottage up on Lake Missaukee in northern Michigan, and I was at that cottage when it happened. And yeah, I remember the whole thing.
I bet most people do. It's kind of like 9/11.
Yep.
Like, I remember where I was because I'd had a hip replacement. I think it was in 91, wasn't it? Or 93?
94.
Was it 94? Okay.
It took like a year for everything to finish off.
Yeah, and then he went on the run. I don't remember the whole thing, but I was laid up at my grandparents' house. I remember that on their ranch, healing from one of my surgeries. And I remember like, oh, my God, like that's the juice, man. And that white Bronco.
That's the guy from Naked Gun?
That's what I knew him from. I didn't know him as a football player. My dad did.
Yeah.
But I knew him as the guy from Naked Gun.
Yep.
And I just, it was shocking to see that. But what do you think about Tiger King? I mean, people are going crazy. There's memes everywhere. Does it show, like, I think, and I was talking to my wife about this, it's almost like the quality of television has gone down with the politics that we do, because
the political climate we're in.
Yeah, because like we had Seinfeld in the 90s and Friends, and there was some funny comedies, and it took some brains, like with some of the Seinfeld jokes and things. And now it's like fast forward to 2020, and we have Joe Exotic. It's like this has gone out of hand. I don't know if it coincides with society.
Well, people in America like the reality TV, and how many years have we had like The Bachelor?
Well, I think it all started with that show on MTV, Real World.
Real World?
Yeah. You didn't watch that because you didn't have cable.
Yeah, I didn't.
But
crazy. I've heard of it. Yeah.
I think
that would make sense.
That's where all this crap started.
It all began there.
Yeah, true story. True story. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Crazy. Well, dude, how's everything else going for you? I mean, you're surviving. You got toilet paper. I mean, is there anything I could do for you, Bill?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Just living the dream.
Did you make it out to Costco yesterday?
I did. It was very surreal. They're like, they only allowed so many customers in at a time, so we were out waiting in the lobby for a few minutes while they were counting. All right, 25 left. We'll let 25 more in.
Wow.
And they had employees walking around and like sterilizing the handles of each freezer door. Just in a cycle. They'd finish, then they'd go start it all over again. And the lines were spaced out. You couldn't put your stuff on the conveyor until the next person in front of you was completely checked out. It was crazy.
That's wild. I went to the grocery store today, and like there were very few people in the grocery store, and they were all wearing masks.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, what country are we
for good
in?
reason though too.
Absolutely.
Because like Michigan's really gotten hit from this.
Absolutely. I don't
every
discount.
State has, but
yeah. I don't discount the severity or why they're doing it.
No.
It's just I can't believe they're having to do that now.
I know.
It's
I never thought in my lifetime I'd see this. Yeah.
No, it's very odd. And the way is like, I was telling Jamie, my wife, I was like, 9/11 happened. It was like, boom, this big thing happened. And then it was like, okay, we saw this big event. This has been like slowly like unfolding, slowly unfolding. And it's like, what's going to happen? Like, we have no idea what's going to happen. Like,
yeah.
Anyways, well, I'm glad you're doing good, man. I'm glad you're still working. I'm glad you're still doing what you need to do. I miss you. I miss hanging out.
Yeah, me too. It's been a while. It's been weeks.
It's not healthy, bro. It's not healthy. But it is what it is.
But it is. That's right.
It is healthy. It is physically healthy. It is physically healthy.
Yeah.
But well, today on the remote no pressure podcast, I'm very excited to have Mr. Rob McConnell. He's author of Fly Fishing the Sam Houston National Forest. Now, I grew up in Houston, not too far from the Sam Houston National Forest. I want to say National Park, but he'll correct me in the Sam Houston National Forest. He's fishes there. He's from Pennsylvania. He grew up there. There's got to be fish out in that national forest. So he started fly fishing. And if you've ever been to Sam Houston National Forest, you would think, I don't know if it's worth the fight to get back in there. But according to his book, it's amazing. It was really hard for me to read the book because it made me very homesick. But it was a great book. And he sent you one, Bill. I haven't gotten to you because we're under the COVID thing.
Yes. Well, as soon as this shelter in place is over for Michigan, we'll get together again and do some more episodes.
Yeah, I'll mail it to you, Bill. I'll mail it to you.
You sure?
You're not that far away, man.
That's true. Well, I do work in between where we live too.
I could drop it off and put it in your truck.
Yeah, that'd work.
But thank you very much, Rob. We really appreciate that. Welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Well, today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, I'm very excited to have Mr. Rob McConnell, also known as Robert McConnell, here with us on the podcast. Thanks for joining me, Rob.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Now, you reached out to me a while ago. We've kind of developed this relationship through communicating here a little bit there, and you told me that you were writing this book, and Fly Fishing the Sam. And let me tell you something. Now, it was bittersweet to get your book. It was bittersweet because, and I was thinking about this today because I was reading through your book last night, and I've had a lot of people on my podcast. You know, we've had Oliver White, who has the Abaco Lodge. I had Joseph Kane, who is a fly guide down in Argentina. You know, I've had a lot of people from some very, very beautiful places, but nothing quite hit me like your book because when I saw some of the pictures, I could literally smell the water and the mud. You know what I mean? Because I grew up there, you know? I think I told you before the episode started, my parents split when I was 9. So I spent a ton of time in East Texas rivers. And, you know, those little, these little streams, you know? And I would trap raccoons back. Well, let me put this straight. I had raccoon traps, but I never trapped a raccoon. I was always scared I would actually trap one when I was a kid, you know?
Oh, I didn't know that, Jeff. I didn't know you had traps.
I had traps. I never trapped anything. I think I trapped one coon, but it chewed its leg off, I think, or it broke it off because I remember finding it. Really? And I was always like scared to death. Like, what if I actually trap something? I have to like kill it. And then I've got to figure out how to skin this thing. And, you know, in 1988, 89, we didn't have YouTube, you know, so I was just, you know, whatever. But the reason I say all that is because something about your book, I want to read it more, but sometimes I've had to stop a couple of times just because it's like, wow, I'm homesick. You know, it was like I could smell the water. I can see the cottonmouth. I could see all of those things, you know, and it just really hit home to me. So first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for sending me this book. I mean, I was really shocked. I was really shocked at how emotional I became while reading your book. And I don't expect everyone to have that same response, you know, not everyone's, but you know, it was just a very nice book. And I thank you very much. It really took me home. And let me ask you this question. You're from Pennsylvania originally. How did you end up in that North Houston area?
Well, my wife and I came down here about 5 years ago. I work in the oil industry, and I was with a oil and gas company up in northwestern Pennssylvania. I worked up there. Well, and actually a little bit before that, I worked on the rigs as a well site geologist, and then I got an office position at a small oil and gas company up in Warren, Pennsylvania, and then and then, gas, we're drilling mainly gas wells, Marcellus gas wells. And then just gas, the price of gas just started going down and down and down and down. And oil was going up and up and up. So, we just talked to my wife, and we've been down to Houston before for classes and stuff like that for my work. And, we just kind of had the talk, like, do we make the move? Do we, totally uproot our life as we know it, move from a town of 9,000 people down to the fourth largest city in the country? And we're like, well, why not? Let's just do it. So we did it, and moved down here and are working for a larger oil and gas company down here.
Well, that's excellent, Rob. Now, how long have y'all been down there?
Man. So it was November of 2014 is when we got down here. So a little over 5 years.
Now, fly fishing the Sam, which I didn't explain this earlier, but it is actually Sam Houston National Park. Fly fishing in Sam Houston National Park, correct?
Yeah, it's actually a national forest.
National forest.
I know.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's much of a distinction, but a national forest is pretty different than a park. There are a lot of things that you're allowed to do in a national forest that you're not allowed to do in a national park. So,
sure. Like grazing cattle. I read that in your book. Where do they graze cattle there?
Well,
or are they allowed to?
Yeah. So, I don't know specifically where they graze them in Sam Houston, and I don't know if they do. But a national forest land has that clause in it that it's kind of like BLM in that sense. From what I understand, is that it's like you can lease out sections of a national forest, not necessarily Sam Houston National Forest, but of national forests in general nationwide, for particular things like logging, oil and gas development. Like we drilled oil and gas wells up in the national forest up in northwestern Pennsylvania. There's oil and gas wells down in Sam Houston National Forest too. So it's just one of those things where there's the public has more, I guess, I don't know, opportunity to utilize the land there, for lack of a better term, I guess.
Right. Now, how did you end up? I mean, I know you told me before we started, you began your fly fishing life there in western Pennsylvania. When did you start fly fishing the Sam Houston State National Forest? When
we came down here, it was kind of a shock, I guess. We like I said, we came from a pretty small town. We came down to like the fourth largest city, and like back up in northwestern Pennsylvania, like my hobbies were the same as like everybody else. Like everybody else ran a trap line, they hunted and they fished, and like I did that too. And so it was like all my buddies were up there, and like we were always on the water doing something or hunting. And so coming down here, I just had to find that natural escape. I had to get out in the woods, and I had to have the I don't know, that wilderness feeling. And so my wife and I, we've explored multiple national forests. Davy Crockett. We've explored Angelina, Sam Houston. We've gone down to the coast, explored some of the wetlands down there, and I started actually fishing it probably pretty soon to actually moving down there. But I would pack like a little ultralight spinning rod, and then just started fly fishing more and more of those creeks, and I'd write everything down in a little outdoor journal. And so over the last 5 years, and it's not just the Sam, it's other places that I've explored, and I usually write down, like, if we float. I've had some good buddies that have gone with me, and like if we float a particular section of a creek, like, and fish it, go back home and look on the USGS website and see what the flows were and how high the water was, and I'll just write that down and just say whether or not the day was good. And some days there's like no flow and we're there dragging the kayak or I have a little 2-man raft. I'm dragging that raft the whole way. So those days, I'm like, don't float this when it's when the gauge says 0 and the CFS says 1.
Don't float. No, now let me ask you this question. Now, this may be just a dumb question, but when I think too of being back there, by the way, you've got some sweet decals. I don't know if those are for sale on your website, but that cottonmouth decal that you sent me is so sweet, dude. I don't even want to use it because I want to keep it for something sweet. And I'm scared if I use it and like on my computer, then I get a new computer. Anyways, I'll buy another one. I
awesome.
guess.
Thank you.
Yeah, but my question is like the bugs. I mean, they've got to be pretty bad back there. I mean, you guys carrying like some major DEET, or like, does that ever detour you from going at a certain time?
No, surprisingly not as bad as I would have initially thought. And also like in the heat of the summer when it's 100 degrees out, it's bad getting to the water. But whenever you're in the water and it's flowing and that water stays surprisingly cool. We fish all through the summer, and June, July, August, September, and once you're in the water, it's pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, we put bug spray on our heads. Ticks can be kind of bad back there. Well, I shouldn't say no, but there are very little deer ticks which carry Lyme's disease. Mm-hmm. And coming from the Western Pennsylvania, like Ohio River Valley area, like the Lyme's disease is a pretty bad thing over there. But there are ticks, and so I usually put like permethrin on my clothes, and then let my clothes dry with permethrin on. And also, if you tuck your shirt tail into your pants, then you look like a dweeb, and you don't get ticks. But
you mean I look like a dweeb when I tuck my shirt in?
No, definitely not. Not you, Jeff.
So do you use like any kind, what patterns do you use? Are you using dry flies, like a mosquito pattern? Have you tried anything like that? Or what kind of flies are you using on the SAM? Or in the SAM, I should say.
Yeah, so I mainly fish like wet flies and like streamers. The sunfish though are super fun on dries, but I'll usually use like a bigger dry, like maybe a stimulator or some kind of gurgler, something that like I can pop on the surface. Those green sunfish and long-eared sunfish, they seem to really like that action, especially whenever it's the middle of the summer, and their metabolisms are in full swing and they're like just eating whatever, Mm-hmm. So something like a gurgler, and I'll tie like gurglers on relatively small hooks, to target panfish. But I mean, also if you find like a still section and throw a larger gurgler out there, then I mean, spotted bass and largemouth bass will hit that too.
Now, have you tried any of Brandon Bale's flies at all?
Whenever I saw Brandon Bale's craw, his hatchling craw,
yes.
I was like, man, that is sweet. So I started tying his hatchling craw just on my own. It's mm-hmm. like I just took his idea of a super small craw pattern and just I started tying him with a jig hook. With a jig hook and a slotted bead. And just so like the hook, well, on his, I guess the hook rides point up also. But I don't know. I kind of like those jig hooks, cause then I can like check nymph with them too, like tight line nymph through deeper pockets with them.
Sure. Well,
but yeah,
he sent me a few of his hatchling craw flies and a few of his flies, but it's still cold in Michigan, and those crawfish have not come out, yet. I cannot wait to try those on smallmouth. But
man, yeah, that fly is so awesome. It's such a good idea. Just take like a crawfish pattern and just make it small. I mean, panfish. Yeah, I tie a fly I mean, all it is basically a woolly bugger with like a big, long, soft hackle collar on it. But I call it a sandjack squirrel just because it's mostly made from squirrel fur, and it's from like the squirrels that I shoot during small game season with my dog. And so then I just every time we shoot a squirrel, I'll just keep its tail, so I've got like a box of squirrel tails, but it's kind of weird, I guess, but I don't know if I'm tying flies with it. I don't feel that weird about it. But, so yeah, I've been tying these, sandjack squirrel flies, and there's a bunch of, small minnows in the waters of the Sam. They're half inch to an inch long. And so if you tie these little, woolly bugger like things, with that like light colored natural grays, natural whites that just regular old gray squirrels already have, their fur already has that color to them. That does really well. Like I've caught decent sized spotted bass on, a size 12, squirrel fly. And I just think that something like that hatchling craw that you could bounce on the bottom, would just, pick up tons of fish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. I didn't know if you'd use that out there because there has to be some of those crawfish out there. That's got to be a great fly for that area.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There totally are. Actually, just the other day, I was exploring one of those little creeks that I write about in the book. I was just down there, just making a couple casts, and I stepped on a log jam, and a crawfish jutted out from the other side of it. So yeah, they're out and about. It was a big one though. Definitely wasn't a size 12.
Well, I fished for brown trout with crawfish, or the regular crawfish,
nice.
before I started fly fishing. And I've caught some really nice browns on that, on a regular crawfish here in Michigan, some brown trout. So I'm excited to use that this summer to as long as it's not too warm, for some brown trout. And I think it's going to be a pretty effective pattern. Now inside of the Sam, you have Lake Conroe. And am I right?
I just mentioned Lake Conroe. I don't talk about it in the
right,
book.
And that's what I was asking you about. What made you choose to write? And I know the answer because it's in the book, so I'm setting you up. But why did you choose to write about these little creeks and things like that versus all the bucket mouth in Lake Conroe, or even Lake Livingston, which I don't think is in the Sam, but that's north of there. But why didn't you choose something like that everybody knows?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could have, but and I think a lot of fly fishermen are more drawn to this aspect of it than say people that drive big hardcore bass fishermen that have like all the fancy power boats and stuff like that. But small streams, I think, are just they just speak to, I think, fly fishermen in a certain way. It's just I have so much fun exploring small water and fishing small water for small fish, or I mean, not necessarily. They're not always small fish, but small flowing streams, I think, just speak. Well, they speak to me, and I think they speak to a lot of fly fishermen. Just brook trout fishing in Western Pennsylvania. I mean, it was step across water that you could stand on either side of with one foot on one bank and the other foot on the other bank. And you're catching 4-inch brook trout all day, and then all of a sudden you catch like this 14-inch brook trout out of this deep hole, and it's like it's the tiger shark of that tiny little creek, and it just like blows your mind. And and a lot of these creeks in the Sam, I just get the same feeling. Like whenever I'm exploring those creeks, it's the same feeling that I got brook trout fishing in Pennsylvania. I get that exact same feeling down, exploring the Sam, just because it is small step across water. It's like, you might be catching like bluegill, next hole green sunfish, next hole long ear sunfish, and then there'll be a deep hole and you throw in there and there's like a largemouth bass in there, and it's like your 3-weight is just like the tip of it's like in the water, and it's like, it's just, I think fly fishermen just appreciate small, lotic environments, flowing water, flowing streams, more. And that's kind of just what I wanted to focus on.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I can probably vouch for Chris/Justin Barclay, who enjoys fishing the smaller waters for brook trout, on a 3-weight. And just finding somewhere where no one's been before, or you think, you romanticize it that no one's ever fished this place before, even though they probably have. There's something attractive about that area. I have a creek here close to my house, and I thought, me and one other guy know about it. Okay. And like you can catch steelhead out of this little creek. I mean, it's just a great little fishery, and it's off of the Grand River watershed. So I go out there during this whole quarantine thing, and there's like 6 anglers in the water. Now this creek cannot accommodate that many people.
Yeah.
But for so long I was like, this is my little place. No one knows about. Well, no, that's not true. People fish it all the time, But I was so funny. Pissed. I gave this guy, I was like, hey, it's quarantine. How'd you find this river? And he was from the east side of the state, from Detroit.
Oh, no kidding.
And there's like a big rift between east siders and west siders. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I was really nice to him because it's not my river or creek. But I was like, oh, how did you find it? I was like asking all these questions. Like, yeah, this is pretty much for locals. I don't see a lot of out of towners here. There's a lot of great rivers around here, trying to like. So I get there and I go to fish, and there's like no fish left because they fished all those fish off the beds and everything. I'm just like, oh my God, this is awful. But I guess it's good to see people out. But we have this idea, like this is our water, like, I want to go find the secret spot. And I think spinning anglers do that too, to an extent. But for some reason, fly anglers enjoy that smaller water, versus, I don't know. Then you got Jaco Lucas, who like goes offshore, and catches like these huge monsters on flies too. So I guess it's, I don't know, to each their own, but I totally romanticize small streams and small creeks,
Yeah, I think it's, it's just what you're familiar with, what like, that's something that I haven't really, I've been down and fished it with conventional gear a couple times, just in the kayak, paddling along the coast and trying to go back in those little coves and stuff like that on the coast looking for reds. But it's one of those things that anytime that I had a weekend or any free time, I went north, I went into the forest and I had friends, asking me like, why don't I go down and fish for reds or something? But I don't have a good answer, it's what I know, like just small streams, brook trout like streams. That's just what I've known and what I like doing.
Yeah, well, I've talked about that on the podcast before. I was born in Bay City, and I fished a lot, especially after my parents split. So like this is like 93 to 98 till I graduated high school. There I fished the intercoastal for flounder, for redfish, for speckled trout, all on traditional gear. And I would love to go back and fish it with fly gear because I never fished with fly gear down there. But we caught some pretty big redfish, and it's a great fishery. That's just people underestimate Houston. I really think they do. And my wife and I joke about it all the time. The people who live in Houston, it's almost like the only thing to do there really is eat and work. People work like nobody's business, you know what I mean? And they go out to eat. That's what they do. People work their butts off and they go out to eat. That's all there is to do there, you know? But
I mean, Houston is known for its food, you know. It's all over the Food Networks and all that stuff.
I know. Dude, when I go there, I gain like 10 pounds right away. Like, I was down there last summer, and I got off the plane, and I immediately, like, by Hobby Airport, I was with my buddy. We're there for work, and I immediately go and I go to Shipley Donuts right away and get like a hot dozen of donuts, right? And so I mow those down, and like not even a block over is Whataburger. So I like go, I like literally come out of one parking lot and into the other on a feeder road, and then I order like this double with bacon and jalapenos and of course their small drinks are like large drinks in Michigan, you know, iced tea, bro, and then I probably eat Whataburger like 12 times while I'm down there, you know? Like every meal's Whataburger, bro. You gotta admit Whataburger's good, right? You like Whataburger, right?
Whataburger's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Whataburger's good. I can't, well, it's probably sacrilegious, but it's like, I can't say it's like my favorite fast food joint, but it is good. And there's actually a Whataburger that we stop at almost every time that we go up to fish the Sam. So,
what city is that in?
It's in Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay.
Yeah.
My aunt lives in Cleveland. My aunt Laverne and Jimmy.
Oh, really?
My aunt Laverne and Jimmy. They live up in Cleveland. I haven't talked to them since I was a little kid, but they've lived there for so many years, you know, ride horses, do that whole thing. They never came to Thanksgiving because it was hunting season, you know, so they would never come, and they're just good people, you know. It's a different world back there, you know, in Cleveland and that whole area. It's a different group of people there, but good people.
Yeah. But Jeff, going back to what you were saying though about you know, like the only thing to do in Houston is to eat and work. I guess that was kind of one of the reasons for the book too, is to showcase a wild area that's, you know, you can be there in an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
Just because it's like, you know, it seems like anybody who wants to go fish, if you're fishing freshwater, you leave the city, you know, you jump on a plane and go somewhere. But now I think that's starting to change. Like with Aaron Reed's book, you know, it's like, I mean, the waterways in Central Texas, you know, I mean, how Aaron has written about them and everything in his book. I mean, it just looks awesome, you know, and like, I floated a couple that like, I floated the San Gabriel with a buddy of mine, and, it was just, man, we had such a good time. But it was just, I don't know, the waterways in the Sam are just, they're an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes away from the city, and you can go up there and you can fish for spotted bass and largemouth and 7 different species of panfish, and, you know, make it home for dinner. And, you know, you're going to catch a bunch of fish, and you're not going to see anybody. You're not going to be shoulder to shoulder with somebody else.
Now, there's quite a few pictures of snakes in your book. Did you take all these pictures?
Yeah. Those are all snakes that I saw out well.
You got a pretty good zoom camera, or how close did you get to these things? Because I mean, that's some great pictures.
Oh, thanks, man. I've got a lens. I forget what it is, but I'm not. I mean, I'm close enough to get a good photo, but not close enough to be, you know, totally stupid. Maybe a little bit. But
I mean, I'm going to cut, because we asked the questions no one will ask on this question on this podcast. No, I'm just kidding. But like some of them, like some of the cottonmouth. There's one picture in here, like looks like you're standing over the cottonmouth as he shows his teeth.
Yeah, I stood next to it, and I had my arm outstretched, and I was like lowering the camera down towards it, you know, towards its head, and it was showing off its cottonmouth, and so I was just snapping photos, and I got a good one.
You're out of control, man. Now the copperhead as well. Do you see a lot of copperheads out there or not?
I do, not as much as I see cottonmouths, but really like places like Winter's Bayou and the East Fork. I don't see them as often on like the larger creeks. Some of the smaller ones, some I haven't like mentioned in that book. Some of the smaller ones I see more cottonmouths on those. I think they like the smaller water that has more bite-sized fish, I guess, so that they can chow down on those, because like the East Fork of the Sandjack, the lower reaches that I talk about. I mean, there's some really nice fish in there. And I was actually talking to Danny Scarborough about this. We were talking about spotted bass in the East Fork, and he was like, "Man, I think the record, the Texas record, could come out of the East Fork someday." And so I don't know. That's been kind of cool to think about. Like, man, what if there's the fly fishing spotted bass record in the East Fork?
Can you imagine that, man? That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, if someone wanted to check out your book, wanted to get to know you a little bit better, what would they do? Do you have a website set up, or where would they go to order your book? Can you just give us some information on that, Fly Fishing the Sam?
Yeah, they can go to flyfishingthesam.com, and on there I've got, like a little about page, and you can buy the book on there and buy a cottonmouth decal, and then it also links to a blog, and that blog that it links to, I have it, when you click on the link, it's filtered to all the fishing articles, but we've written articles about hunting and trapping and stuff like that on there too. Anything to do with the outdoors, really. Even some hikes that we've been on, and some off-roading trips and stuff like that in the Ozarks and things like that. So
that's really cool. We'll put all those links up on the show notes there down below, where people can check that out. Also, it looks like Aaron Reed wrote a nice little piece there on the back of your book, a recommendation on it.
Yeah.
How did you meet Aaron Reed?
Well, I mean, he's pretty much the man. He's awesome. I joined up with Texas Streams Coalition, and so I just whenever I signed up for the Texas Stream Coalition, that nonprofit that Aaron's a part of, it just asked a little bit about you whenever you sign up, and so I just it's asked you what your profession is and what interests you have and stuff like that. So I just filled that out and just mentioned in there that I was writing a book about fly fishing in Sam Houston National Forest, and so like the next day I got an email from Aaron just asking him what the book was about, and then I emailed back and forth a little bit and talked to him a little bit, and and man, he's just such an awesome guy, and I sent him the book if he wanted to beta read it, and he sent it back to me and caught all these mistakes I had made, and he took so much time for me that I couldn't believe it. I was like totally blown away by his generosity. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he really is, and we've enjoyed having him on the show. He has his book, Fly Fishing Austin and Central Texas, which is an excellent book.
It is. Well. It's a great book.
Oh my gosh, like the maps, everything in it is just. It's just a quality book, and for a quality human being as well,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's probably. I mean, when I moved down here, I bought a couple books about fly fishing in Texas and stuff like that, and Aaron's is the best that I've seen.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure he'll appreciate hearing that, and thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate your time. I love your book. It means so much to me. For those reasons I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. I can't explain it. But I can I can feel the heat.
Thanks, Jeff.
I can smell the mud and the water. I can see those like slow pools that are barely moving. You know, I know what that water's like, and I don't know, something about it, man. It just really. It really hit the feels with me, and I'm very, very excited. It makes me want to go fish the Sam. And by the way, my kids, you know, we've made that trip from Texas from Houston up to Dallas several times on I-45, and you know, you pass Sam Houston State University, and my whole family knows that's when you salute. You got to salute Sam Houston, right? My kids, everybody, right. We ought to do that. You know, it's really stupid, but we have to do it every single time. You know, we know that's what you got to do, but anyways,
yeah. No, man, that's awesome.
Sam Houston is king, man. You know, Sam Houston is king.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for your time. What was that?
I was going to say he's like one of the founding fathers for Texans.
He was
the founding father.
Yeah, I mean, he was the first and third president. I believe he was the third president. Before they were captured. And if you want to take a look, if you want to take a look at some Texas history, and that's one of the things I love about your book too, is there's some Texas history about the winters and things like that were really cool in here. But and my claim to fame is the Troutman flag that was flown at the Alamo. If you want to take a look at that, that's
no
my
kidding.
claim to fame. Yeah, look up the Troutman flag. Yeah, flown at the Alamo.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't know that.
Yeah, no,
that's awesome, Jeff. That's super cool. I like that. Learn about history and the history of a particular area. Actually, if you have a good, like, easy to read, interesting book on Texas history, I'd be interested to hear what it is.
Yeah, the Texans are a proud people, and you probably have learned that, and you've probably become that way. But it's pretty amazing, like the amount of history that the typical Texan has, because we take Texas history courses and things like that going through school, and you know, it's pretty wild. Texans are a proud people. It's kind of obnoxious to people who aren't from Texas, but people who are.
No, but I get it, man, because I think, like, I didn't have regional, and I had like very. Like they glossed over, some Pennsylvania history, but we never had like the county that I'm from, or like we never had like an Indiana County history lesson or anything like that. And and I wish that we would have, because I mean, sure, it's the same for people in Texas. It's just you have pride in where you're from and everything like that. And I think just hearing like. People that are from Texas know their Texas history, and it's super cool to hear it. And I just kind of wish that like we had been taught that in my school in Pennsylvania. So
yeah, well, it's funny because like my wife is from Michigan, and they do have a Michigan history class and everything, and she's always giving me crap. She's like, you're so proud of Texas and blah, 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 she's so anyways, so a few years ago, I think 3 years ago, we went through Austin and we took a tour of the state capitol. It's a free tour that anyone's welcome to take. You just show up at a certain time and hook up with a tour guide. And when we were done with the tour, and you hear the whole story of Texas, how they built the state capitol building and all this other stuff, my wife was like, I totally get it now. I understand why you're so proud, because the story of Texas, God, I could go on and on. I got to be careful, but the story of Texas and how it became the country that it is, but it's a story of these heroes.
Man, it's super unique, because it's unlike anything else where they said, okay, we will become part of the United States, as opposed to the United States saying, like, this is now a state. They were like, okay, we'll join up, kind of thing.
right, exactly. Like, we make that decision, and I think it's the only state flag that can fly at the same height as the United States flag.
Man, I read that when I came down here. Also, it was I forget. So it was some like old timer back in Pennsylvania was like, man, when you go down there, you tell them that they need to fly the American flag higher than the Texas flag or something like that. And I was like, I didn't understand what he was talking about. But then when I came down here, I looked it up and was like, oh, they don't, you don't necessarily have to, because you volunteered to become part of the union.
Right. See, you're starting to get proud. See, almost like Rob. It's almost like you're. It's almost like you're a Texan, man.
I can't be one unless I was born here. Right?
Oh no, you can't. And that's what I think is really cool about Houston is, I was born in Bay City. I grew up all around Texas, But to be honest with you, one thing I loved about Houston in particular was it is a melting pot. I don't think people understand that. There's more languages spoken in Houston than New York City. There's more dialects, and it's crazy because you don't think it, because we got the second largest ship port in the United States as their Houston Ship Channel, and I went to high school. It was a very diverse place to go to school. It was not all white bread, it was an interesting place to grow up, and I don't take that for granted. I absolutely loved it, and the fact that people were very transient in Houston, Conroe, Kingwood, all those areas, people are moving in and out for work. You really do experience a lot of cultures there.
Yeah, a lot of cultures, and I think that plays into the fact that there's awesome food down here too. Like we can go get Thai food or whatever, if we want Thai food, Korean food, Viet Cajun,
Mexican food, lots of
Mexican food. And then Tex-Mex, which I didn't know until coming down here, but that's different than regular Mexican food.
Well, when I moved to Michigan, I moved to Michigan in 2002, and you couldn't find a good taco anywhere. Now you can. Now you can find some tacos. It's real traditional Mexican food up here. But also brisket. I could never find brisket, so I had to learn how to smoke my own brisket. And I'm pretty dang good at it now, but I had to learn because I wanted to eat brisket, But I still can't get on. And Aaron Reed is going to yell at me, and so is Chris Barclay and Brad Boone. I know they're going to text me, but the thing is, I don't like Shiner Bock beer. I just can't get into it, and I've tried really hard, but it's just not my thing.
Really, I like that beer. That's like. In PA, it was like Yingling, right? But down here, it's like Shinerbach, and I think it's up there with Yingling. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good, man. And maybe I need to grow. Well, maybe I need to get it now that I'm older because I drank it when I was really young, So now I need to come back and
ruined you.
Yeah, it kind of ruined me. And I like IPA. It's like a real hoppy beer. I'm not like a Bach kind of guy, But
gotcha.
But that's just me. But anyways, well, man, I could talk all night to you, man. And it sucks I got to go, but we got to wrap up the episode. Thanks for hanging out with me, Rob. We'll put your show links or put your all of your website links and your book links there. I appreciate this book so much just because of who I am. And I appreciate, man, the decal is so killer. Did you design that or did you have someone design that for you?
No. My college buddy, he designed it for me. We were housemates together, and He's an artist. I don't know what he's doing exactly right now, but I have his name on the website.
Yeah. Well, that's a sweet decal. He did a great job, and that really captures the book very well.
Thanks, man.
So
thanks. I'll make sure that he hears that.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate hanging out with me, Rob, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel and the show links and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, Bill.
Yep, that is right.
I think we're at a whopping 88.
Hey, but like 2 months ago, we were at like 50-something. So
yeah. So it's
we're doing good.
But be sure to go there at remotenopressure.com. It has a link as well. We thank you, everyone. Please leave a review there down below. On your favorite streaming channel. And we just really appreciate everything that everybody's doing. We really do. And everyone stay safe. Bill, you stay safe, man.
You as well.
I worry about you, Bill. Nothing can happen to you, man. You're a co-host on the premier podcast in Apple Podcast. And all of the Apple Podcasts, you're number one, Bill.
Oh, we gotta get it up there. We're gonna make that happen.
I got to get an insurance policy out on you, Bill. If something were to happen to you. No, but thank you guys so much. Be sure to check out remotenopressure.com. Follow us on our socials. And until next time, go fishing.